They held the celebration at the community hall 2 weeks after I graduated. My parents had invited everyone. Extended family, business partners, people from the neighborhood who had watched me grow up. There was a cake with my name on it and a banner that said congratulations. Halfway through the evening, my father stood up to make a speech. He thanked everyone for coming. He talked about how proud he was. Then he said the business was entering a new phase. He said they were bringing in fresh leadership. He said my cousin would be taking over operations. He said it was time for the next generation to step up. He looked right at me when he said it. People clapped. My cousin smiled and stood to shake hands. I sat there with my plate in front of me, pretending I had known this was coming. I hadn't. No one had told me. I had been working there for 3 years. I had kept everything running while I finished school, and now I was being replaced in front of everyone I knew. If this sounds familiar, I'd appreciate you staying. There's more to this than it seems. After the speech, people came up to congratulate my cousin. A few asked me what I was planning to do next. I smiled and said I wasn't sure yet. I said I was taking some time to figure things out. I didn't tell them I had just found out 30 seconds ago that I no longer had a role. I didn't tell them I had been at the office that morning filing paperwork. I didn't say anything that would make it awkward. I just kept my face neutral and waited for the night to end. My mother came over once and asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. She said it was for the best. She said I needed to focus on my future now. I didn't ask what she thought I had been doing for the last 3 years. I just nodded and cleared my plate. When I got home that night, I sat in my car for 20 minutes before going inside. I didn't cry. I just sat there in the silence trying to make sense of what had just happened. I had started working at the family business during my 2nd year of college. It was supposed to be temporary, just something to help out while I studied. But over time, I became the one who handled the things no one else wanted to do. I managed the business filings. I tracked the licensing renewals. I made sure we stayed compliant with local regulations. It wasn't glamorous, but it was necessary, and I was good at it. I kept spreadsheets. I set reminders. I followed up with agencies when things stalled. My father hated dealing with paperwork, so he handed it all to me. My mother was too busy with client relations. My cousin was still in high school when I started, so I became the one who kept everything in order. I didn't mind at first. I thought I was contributing. I thought I was proving I could handle responsibility. But no one ever said thank you. No one ever acknowledged how much I was managing. They just kept adding more to my plate and expecting me to keep up. After the celebration, I kept going to the office like nothing had changed. No one told me to stop. No one said my access was revoked, so I showed up. I answered emails. I checked the renewal schedule. I made sure nothing fell through the cracks. My cousin started coming in more often. He sat at the desk next to mine and asked questions. How do we submit this form? Who do we contact for that license? Where are the contracts filed? I walked him through everything. I showed him the systems I had built. I explained the deadlines. I gave him the passwords. I trained him to take over my job. And the whole time, no one told me that was what I was doing. I thought I was just helping him get up to speed. I thought we were going to work together. It took me 2 weeks to realize I was training my replacement. And by then, it was too late to say anything. So I just kept going. I didn't know what else to do. The breaking point came when a filing deadline was missed. It was something my cousin was supposed to handle. I had reminded him twice. I had even sent him the form with instructions, but he forgot. The penalty notice came in the mail. My father opened it at the office and lost his temper. He called me in and asked why I hadn't taken care of it. I told him I wasn't assigned to that anymore. I told him I had handed it off like I was supposed to. He said I should have followed up anyway. He said I knew how important it was. He said I should have been more responsible. I stood there and took it. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just nodded and said I'd make sure it got handled. Then I went back to my desk and fixed the problem. I submitted the appeal. I paid the penalty out of the business account. I made sure it wouldn't happen again. And no one ever apologized. They just moved on like it had never happened. That night, I went through my files at home. I had kept copies of everything I had ever submitted on behalf of the business. Contracts, registrations, licensing renewals. I didn't do it to protect myself. I did it because I didn't trust the filing systems at the office. I wanted backups in case something got lost. As I flipped through the folders, I noticed something I had forgotten. On most of the contracts, I was listed as the authorized signatory. My name, my identification number. My signature. I had signed them because my father didn't want to deal with the agencies. He hated going to government offices. He hated waiting in line, so he had me do it. He had me register as the point of contact. At the time, I thought it was just a formality. But now, looking at the documents, I realized what it meant. Legally, I was still the one on record. I was the one they would contact for renewals. I was the one who had to approve changes. Without me, nothing could move forward. I didn't tell anyone what I had found. I just put the files back and went to bed. I didn't know what it meant yet. I didn't know if it mattered. I just knew it was there. The next day at the office, I watched my cousin struggle with a contract amendment. He kept asking me how to submit it. I told him he needed authorization from the registered signatory. He asked who that was. I said it was me. He looked confused. He said my father told him he was in charge now. I said that was true for operations, but the legal paperwork still had my name on it. He didn't say anything. He just stared at the form. Then he went to ask my father. I didn't follow him. I just sat at my desk and waited. My father came out a few minutes later and asked to see the contracts. I pulled them up. He looked at them for a long time. Then he said we'd figure it out later, but we never did. Over the next few weeks, things started to pile up. Renewals that needed signatures, amendments that required authorization, requests from agencies that were addressed to me. My cousin kept trying to handle them, but he kept hitting walls. The agencies wouldn't accept his submissions because he wasn't listed as the authorized party. They needed my signature, my identification, my approval. He asked me to sign things when he needed them. I did at first. I didn't want to cause problems. But after a while, I started to feel like I was being used. I was still doing the work, but I wasn't getting any credit. I wasn't included in meetings. I wasn't consulted on decisions. I was just expected to show up and sign when they needed me, so I started asking questions. I started asking what the documents were for. I started asking to see the full context before I signed. It slowed things down. My father didn't like that, but I didn't stop. One afternoon, my father called me into his office. He said I was being difficult. He said I needed to cooperate. He said the business couldn't function if I kept holding things up. I asked him why my name was still on everything if I wasn't part of the team anymore. He said it was just a technicality. He said we'd update it eventually. I asked when. He didn't answer. He just said I needed to be a team player. I told him I had been a team player for 3 years. I told him I had kept everything running while everyone else ignored the paperwork. I told him I wasn't going to keep signing things without knowing what I was signing. He stared at me. Then he said I was being ungrateful. He said I didn't understand how businesses worked. I didn't argue, I just left. I didn't sign anything that day, or the next. I just let the request sit. I didn't refuse, I just stopped offering. And slowly, everything started to stall. The tension in the office became impossible to ignore. My cousin stopped asking me for help. My mother stopped making small talk. My father avoided me unless he needed something signed. I kept showing up, but I felt like a ghost. I was there, but I wasn't really part of anything anymore. I started keeping track of what they asked me to sign. I started taking notes on what was happening. I didn't know why. I just felt like I needed a record. One morning, I got an email from a regulatory agency. They were doing a routine audit of our business licenses. They needed to verify the authorized signatory on file. They asked me to confirm my contact information and schedule a review. I forwarded the email to my father. He didn't respond. I forwarded it again. Still nothing. So I replied to the agency myself. I confirmed my information. I scheduled the review. I didn't tell anyone. I just let it happen. I figured if they wanted to cut me out, they could deal with the consequences. I wasn't going to protect them anymore. After that, I stopped going to the office every day. I told my parents I had some things to take care of. They didn't ask what. They just seemed relieved I wasn't around. I still answered emails when the agency contacted me. I still responded to requests that had my name on them, but I stopped showing up for the daily grind. I stopped pretending I was part of the team. I just stepped back and let them figure it out. At first, nothing happened. Everything kept running. My cousin handled the day-to-day. My father managed the clients. My mother kept the books. They didn't need me for that. But slowly, the cracks started to show. Deadlines were missed. Renewals were delayed. Agencies started sending reminders, and all of them were addressed to me. I didn't ignore them. I just didn't go out of my way to fix things anymore. I responded when I was asked directly, but I stopped carrying the load, and I stopped feeling guilty about it. My mother called me one evening and asked when I was coming back to the office. I said I wasn't sure. She said they needed me to sign some things. I asked what things. She said she'd send me the list. She never did. A few days later, my father called. He said we needed to talk. I said okay. He said I was putting the business at risk. I said I wasn't doing anything. I said I was just waiting to be told what my role was. He said I knew what my role was. I said I didn't. I said I had been replaced and then kept around to sign paperwork. I said that wasn't a role, that was convenience. He got quiet. Then he said I was being unreasonable. I said I didn't think I was. I said I just wanted clarity. He said we'd talk about it later. We never did. I just stayed away and waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for, but I knew something had to give eventually. The audit appointment was scheduled for late in the month. The agency sent a confirmation email with a list of documents they needed to review. They sent it to me. I forwarded it to my father. He replied and asked if I could handle it. I said I could, but I wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page first. I asked if he wanted to be there. He said he was too busy. I asked if my cousin should come. He said it wasn't necessary, so I said I'd take care of it. I didn't tell him I wasn't going to prepare anything. I didn't tell him I was just going to show up and answer their questions honestly. I didn't plan to sabotage anything. I just wasn't going to cover for anyone anymore. I wasn't going to smooth things over. I was just going to let the facts speak for themselves, and whatever happened after that would be out of my hands. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I wasn't responsible for holding everything together. And that felt like relief. The auditor arrived on time. She was professional and thorough. She asked to see the business licenses. I pulled them from the file. She reviewed them carefully. Then she asked who the current authorized signatory was. I said it was me. She asked if I was still actively involved in operations. I said no. She asked who was. I said my cousin had taken over. She asked if the signatory had been updated. I said no. She made a note. Then she asked to see the recent contract renewals. I showed her the ones I had signed. She asked if I had been present for the negotiations. I said no. She asked if I had been briefed on the terms. I said no. She made another note. Then she asked if anyone else had attempted to submit documents on behalf of the business. I said yes. She asked if they were authorized. I said no. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said the records didn't match the current structure. She said that was a compliance issue. She said it needed to be resolved immediately. She asked if my father was available to discuss the findings. I called him. He came to the office within an hour. The auditor explained the issue. She said the business couldn't operate with an unauthorized person handling regulated activities. She said the signatory on file had to match the person doing the work. She said if I was no longer involved, the records needed to be updated. But she said that required my approval. My father looked at me. I didn't say anything. The auditor continued. She said if the records weren't updated, the renewals would be invalid. She said that could result in penalties or suspension. She said it was a serious matter. My father asked what needed to happen. She said I needed to either resume my role or formally transfer authority. She said it couldn't be done without my consent. She said I was the legally recognized party. My father thanked her. She gave him a deadline, then she left. We sat in the office in silence. He didn't look at me. I didn't look at him. I just waited. After a few minutes, my father said we needed to fix this. I asked how. He said I needed to sign the transfer forms. I asked what I would get in return. He looked surprised. He said I'd be released from the responsibility. I said I didn't see that as a benefit. I said I had been handling that responsibility for 3 years without recognition. I said if he wanted me to sign, I needed something in writing. He asked what I meant. I said I wanted documentation of what I had contributed. I wanted acknowledgement of the work I had done. I wanted a formal exit from the business, not just a quiet removal. He said that wasn't necessary. I said it was necessary for me. He didn't respond. I stood up and said I'd wait for him to decide. Then I left. I didn't go back to the office after that. I didn't answer his calls. I just waited. I had spent 3 years being invisible. I wasn't going to let them erase me completely, not without a fight. A week later, my mother showed up at my apartment. She said we needed to talk. I let her in. She said I was being unfair. She said the business was suffering because of me. I said the business was suffering because they hadn't planned properly. I said they had removed me without considering the legal structure. I said that wasn't my fault. She said I was family. She said I should want to help. I said I had helped for 3 years. I said I had done everything they asked and more. I said I wasn't going to keep helping people who didn't value me. She started to argue. I stopped her. I said I wasn't negotiating anymore. I said if they wanted my signature, they needed to meet my terms. I said I wanted a written acknowledgement of my contributions. I said I wanted a clean separation. I said I wasn't asking for money. I was asking for respect. She said she'd talk to my father. I said that was fine. Then I asked her to leave. She did. I closed the door and locked it. I had finally said what I needed to say. A few days later, I received a formal letter from my father. It was typed and signed. It acknowledged my role in managing the business operations and compliance from the time I started. It thanked me for my contributions. It stated that I was stepping away from active involvement by mutual agreement. It outlined the terms of the signatory transfer. It was short. It was formal, but it was in writing. I read it 3 times. Then I signed the transfer forms. I sent everything back by registered mail. I didn't call, I didn't visit, I just completed the transaction and stepped away. A week later, I got a confirmation from the agency. The records had been updated. My name was removed. My cousin was now the authorized party. It was done. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel relieved. I just felt like I had finally closed a door that should have been closed a long time ago. And that was enough. I didn't need anything more than that. I didn't need an apology. I just needed the boundary to be clear. After that, I stopped checking in. I stopped asking about the business. I stopped caring what happened next. I got a part-time job at a firm across town. It wasn't related to the family business. It wasn't prestigious. But it was mine. I showed up. I did my work. I got paid. I went home. It was simple. It was clean. It was honest. No one expected me to do more than I was asked. No one took credit for my work. No one erased me from the story. I started to feel like myself again. I started to remember what it felt like to be valued. I didn't talk to my parents much. They didn't reach out often. When they did, I kept it brief. I was polite. I was distant. I didn't hold a grudge. I just didn't have the energy to pretend everything was fine, so I didn't. I just focused on building something new, something that belonged to me, and for the first time in years, that felt like enough. I don't know if my family understands why I stepped away. I don't know if they ever will, but I don't need them to. I spent 3 years trying to prove I was valuable, trying to earn recognition, trying to be seen, and it didn't matter because they had already decided who I was. They had already decided what I was worth, and nothing I did was going to change that, so I stopped trying. I stopped waiting for them to see me. I just started seeing myself, and that changed everything. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt. I'm just clear. Clear about what I deserve, clear about what I won't accept, clear about the kind of life I want to build. And that clarity has given me something I didn't have before. Peace. Quiet, steady, lasting peace. Thank you for listening to this whole story. I know it wasn't easy. If something here resonated with you, I'd really like to know what it was. And if you want to hear more, I'd appreciate your support.